Chapter 332. Ranked on the Immortal execution list. However, Kangxia was always following him, and even though the injured Kangxia at the moment was unable to solve poison-killing Emperor, in a short period of time, it was still possible to hold him back. After they were entangled for a few moments, 9 humanoid lightning bolts descended from the sky, and after seeing the faces of these humanoid lightning bolts clearly, poison-killing Emperor's eyes shrunk as a cool air rose from the soles of his feet. The 9 humanoid lightning looked indifferently at Kangxia and Emperor Poison Slayer. Their faces were the same as Kangxia's, except that their bodies were all condensed with lightning, exuding a terrifying aura. Poison Killer Emperor was shocked. Without any unnecessary nonsense, the 9 humanoid lightning bolts struck out together, 6 of them attacking Kangxia. After all, he was the protagonist of this tribulation. The remaining 3, on the other hand, greeted the poison-killing Emperor with all their might. A great battle broke out. Regardless of whether it was Kangxia or poison-killing Emperor, the 2 of them instantly bled on the battlefield, being suppressed by the 9 humanoid lightning bolts. The heaven-escaping hand, heaven-breaking, sublime decapitation, and the shock of force. All of these Kangxia's masterstrokes greeted himself at the moment, causing him to be distressed, while his heart was filled with crisis. Comparatively speaking, the poison-killing Emperor was much more miserable. This was the heavenly tribulation that Kangxia was facing, so the strength of every humanoid lightning bolt was according to Kangxia's standards. At the moment, Kangxia was at the peak of the outbreathing stage, Seal Emperor's strength, infinitely close to the outbreathing stage Invincible Realm, so these humanoid lightning bolts were the same. Under the attack of the 3 humanoid lightning bolts, the poison-killing Emperor was as miserable as he could be, barely having the slightest ability to resist. Of course, Kangxia, who had been injured a long time ago, didn't suffer much better than him, only that his fleshly body was very powerful and his defense was much stronger than poison-killing Emperor, so he suffered less damage. Nonetheless, Kangxia suffered a fatal crisis, just like poison-killing Emperor. It was a tragic battle. Kangxia's entire body was a bloody mess. He had never suffered such grievous injuries before. The 9 humanoid lightning bolts were simply too strong. If it was in his heyday, he might have been able to support himself for a while. But after the previous 2 waves of heavenly tribulation, Kangxia had already been injured quite a bit. And at this moment, he was in a very dangerous situation when he was attacked by the humanoid lightning bolts. It was fortunate that the poison-killing Emperor had shared the 3 humanoid lightning bolts for him. Otherwise, Kangxia himself would not have been sure of surviving the crisis of this heavenly tribulation. Roar! Emperor Poison Slayer roared in grief and anger as he tried to break out. However, he was greeted by 3 huge purple, golden palms that were the size of mountain peaks that directly slapped him to pieces. He was not a body-refining cultivator. His flesh body was not even at the level of a treasure weapon. Under the siege of the 3 humanoid lightning bolts, he finally couldn't support himself and was completely blown up. However, his Yuanying escaped, and under the cover of a treasure artifact, he continued to fend off the attacks of the 3 humanoid lightning bolts. Kangxia, the poisonous Slayer Emperor's eyes were filled with resentment as he glared fiercely at Kangxia. Finally making an important decision, Kangxia ignored him because the crisis he was facing at the moment was not much smaller than Emperor Poison Slayer at all. After all, there were 6 humanoid lightning bolts besieging him. Soon, Poison Killer Emperor's Yuanying stage began to dissipate, not by the humanoid lightning, but by his own initiative. This was very puzzling to Kangxia, who had discovered it by accident, but he had no time to think about it, because after losing the Poison Killer Emperor as his target, he would have to face the attacks of 9 humanoid lightning bolts. For a moment, Kangxia was caught in a life and death situation. At this moment, Lu Hai, who was secretly watching from 100 miles away, suddenly closed his eyes and fell to the ground. But not for long. Lu Hai opened his eyes again. This time, his eyes were no longer dull, but full of resentment, staring at Kang Chia, who was not far away, and said eerily, "You'd better die under the heavenly tribulation, or I'll make your life worse than death." He was no longer the puppet Lu Hai, but the Poison Slayer Emperor. This was a forbidden technique that the poison-killing Emperor knew, which allowed him to allow his Yuanying to possess the body of the puppet he had refined, and continue his cultivation with the puppet's body. It was just that a puppet was a puppet after all, and it was definitely inferior to the original body. And coupled with a poor fit, the strength that could be utilized was also very limited. Right now, the poisonous killing Emperor was occupying Lu Hai's body, and with his cultivation at the level of an out-of-body stage Seal Emperor, he was only able to exert the strength of a peak out-of-body stage Seal King at the moment. I'm afraid that it would take him a very long time before he could recover his strength at the outbreathing stage Seal King level. Because of this, poison-killing Emperor hated Kang Chon's ancestors for all 18 generations, as he concealed his aura and secretly watched Kang Chon's passage through the apocalypse, waiting for the right moment. The heavenly tribulation did not let him down. Kang Chia was under the siege of 9 humanoid lightning bolts, constantly being heavily injured, and looked like he would fall at any moment. The poison-killing Emperor finally revealed an eerie smile. Time passed bit by bit. After about half a day, the power of the humanoid lightning had also consumed a lot, and their bodies began to grow dim. And the first to disappear were the 3 humanoid lightning that had fought with the poison-killing Emperor. Of course, Kang Chia wasn't doing well either. His entire body was covered in purple blood, and some places were even revealing the ghastly white bones. And even more horrifyingly, on his left shoulder, there was a fist-sized penetrating hole. Blood continuously left his body, falling to the ground and staining the earth purple. Overlord Fist, Force Shock 32 times. After the 3 humanoid lightning bolts disappeared, Kang Chia was still charged with battle intent, despite the heavy injuries he had suffered, as he finally displayed the strongest battle state of Kang Chon's hegemony blood, revealing the invincible level of power of the outbreathing stage. Under this strongest combat state, Kang Chia persisted until the disappearance of the remaining 6 humanoid lightning bolts before he sighed in relief and sat down on the ground with his buttocks. This time, the heavenly tribulation had completely dissipated. "Huiyu," Kang Chia let out a breath as an extreme fatigue crept into his heart, but his eyes were still incomparably blazing. Even though the heavenly tribulation this time was extremely terrifying, he still managed to survive it and became a strong person at the 5th level of the outbreeding stage. Although it wasn't as terrifying as the last time when he crossed 7 minor realms in one go, but being able to reach the 5th level of the outbreathing stage in one go, Kang Chia still felt satisfied. Nothing more. In the distance, hidden in the shadows, the poisonous killing Emperor had a sinister smile on the corner of his mouth. The previous lesson had caused him to become extremely cautious this time, and it was only after he realized that the sky's calamity clouds had completely dissipated that he breathed a sigh of relief. Although I can only exert the strength of a peak orbital stage Seal King right now, can you, who have received such heavy injuries, still escape in my hands? Hey! Emperor Poisonous Slayer laughed eerily. Kang Chia was so heavily injured that he didn't need to check. Even a fool would be able to see it. This was because at this moment, Kang Chia didn't even have the strength to stand up, and was sitting on the ground, panting heavily. As long as I seize the Dawnbreaker Immortal Order, and the huge military credit for killing him, I'll be able to make up for all my losses. Emperor Poisonous Slayer's eyes were fiery as he stared at Kang Chia, slowly approaching the other party step by step. However, right at this moment, a tall figure steeply appeared in front of Kang Chia. It was a golden-colored giant ape. He held Kang Chon's blood blade and exuded a powerful aura. Peak out of body stage Seal King. Emperor Poison Slayer's eyes narrowed, his face instantly becoming terrifyingly gloomy. The golden-colored giant ape, exuding a palpitatingly terrifying aura, was like a guard, earnestly guarding beside Kang Chia, his pair of golden eyes transmitting a stern gaze as he swept the four directions around him. Those cultivators who hid in the shadows and watched felt a tremor when they were swept by this sharp gaze. The same strength, along with that top-grade treasure artifact-grade blood knife. Karma poison-killing Emperor's face instantly became very ugly. He knew that with this golden giant ape, he would not be able to kill Kang Chia today. Kang Chia, I'll remember you. Despite the unwillingness in his heart, poison-killing Emperor ultimately gave up striking. He glared hatefully at Kang Chia and headed towards the distance ******. Time passed, and a day later, Kang Chia in the middle of the ruins slowly stood up. Little Gold, let's go. This place is not suitable to stay for a long time. Kang Chia looked towards Little Gold and said, a hint of a smile in his eyes. Previously, he had placed Little Gold in the reverse heavenly cauldron in order to allow it to protect him after his own apocalypse. After all, having had the experience of his previous apocalypse, he was very clear about the terrifying nature of his own apocalypse. The week period after the tribulation was the most dangerous time for him. At this time, the only way he could feel at ease was to have a strong and trustworthy person to guard him. Little Gold was undoubtedly the most suitable candidate. Brother, how is your injury recovery going? Little Gold had a concerned look on his face. It's stabilized for now, but it still needs time to recover, Kang Chia said with some heaviness. The injuries he sustained this time were indeed very heavy, and he wouldn't be able to get better without the greater part of the year. However, he was clear that after this battle, the matter of him possessing the dawn-breaking immortal order would be spread out immediately, and at that time, there would definitely be a lot of people coming to kill him and seize the treasure. Therefore, at this moment, the only thing to do was to quickly return to the Thousand Blade Valley as a good thing. Fortunately, this was the east battlefield, close to the Thousand Blade Valley. If it was in the battlefield of the Devil's Way cultivators, or the land of the kings, then Kang Chia would be in danger. Zijin also knew the seriousness of the matter, and upon hearing this, he immediately took Kang Chia and disappeared into the sky. A few days after they left, the entire Wind Cloud continent was abuzz with the news of this battle, which spread throughout the entire Wind Cloud continent at an extremely fast speed. Whether it was a righteous cultivator or a devilish cultivator, they all knew that a genius had been born in the Wind Cloud continent, a supreme genius from the Heavenly Dao sect, Kang Chia. A battle to destroy the three emperors. Even though Kang Chia had utilized the heavenly tribulation, his powerful strength and talent, it was unquestionable. Kang Chia's name was instantly known to no one. When Kang Chia and Zijin had not returned to the Thousand Blade Valley, this news had already been spread back by some Heavenly Dao sect disciples, and instantly the entire Blade Valley was abuzz, and the entire Heavenly Dao sect was abuzz. Some people were jealous, some people were excited, some people were uplifted, ... But no matter what, Kang Chia's name finally resounded throughout the entire Heavenly Dao sect, just like Dao Yi and Jiao Wuji. No one knew. As for this, Kang Chia and Little Gold knew nothing, but they were able to guess. Half a month later, under Little Gold's desperate rush, the two of them returned to the Thousand Blade Valley. As soon as they returned, Kang Chia released Qian San Xiao in the Heaven Reversing Cauldron, and then, after carefully instructing Little Jin, he closed his eyes within the cave. Even though he hadn't seen him for many years, he had a lot of things to say to Qian San Xiao, but this time, he had been injured too severely. If he delayed any further, he might leave behind after effects, so he had to recover from his injuries at the first opportunity. Qian San Xiao understood this very well. He and Kang Chia agreed to meet again in a year's time. This time he got out of danger. He had to go back to his old home in the Great Tang country to have a look first. As for Little Gold, he stayed outside the cave to protect Kang Chia. Positive Demon Battlefield, Dark Demon Cave. The demon sex base in the Positive Demon Battlefield. At this moment, in the middle of a morose black palace, there sat a tall figure surrounded by demonic aura, each of them exuding a powerful aura, causing the space around them to freeze up somewhat. Right in the middle sat an old man who was as thin and bony as a wood, his entire body shrouded under a black robe, his eyes as deep as the endless starry sky, his aura as vast as the ocean, unfathomable. He was the demon sex cultivator elder, specializing in killing. His strength was only second to the demon sex patriarch.